now, John.
Good evening. It's Friday, June 27th, 2025, and we're in Studio 8F today, and it's my pleasure and my distinct honor to be speaking with a true World War II frontline infantry combat veteran, Mr. John J. Jeckovich. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, thank you.
You're looking well. We've been interviewing you now for almost 300 years. We have 600 plus podcasts. And I'll have to tell you the truth, there's not one day you came into these studios that you ever had the same shirt on. What do you have, about a couple thousand shirts?
What do you mean?
You have a different shirt every day. Yeah, every day.
Well, you're supposed to change clothes every day.
But people change clothes, but you buy new clothes every day.
I don't buy no clothes. I don't even get out of the house.
Every day you have a different shirt. That's beautiful. But listen, that's a nice shirt.
Yeah.
See all those different fishes on it, and dolphins, and sharks.
I don't know where the shirt. This was the closet.
Your closets are size of most people's master bedrooms.
Oh.
You're doing well.
Come
so
on.
how are you feeling today?
Huh?
How are you feeling today?
Good.
You're looking well. You're looking well. So today we're reading your book the second time around, titled Their Mother's Sons. How many pages?
849.
849. I know you didn't use Google, right?
Huh?
You didn't use Google.
No.
I know you didn't use a computer.
No, just yellow pads.
Yellow legal pads. There's someone behind me. Yeah, just yellow legal pads.
How can you remember all that stuff?
How did you remember all the details? You didn't use Google, you didn't use a computer, but you have details that are like unbelievable details. How did you, honestly, how did you remember all that? Those street addresses, the name of restaurants.
The boats you were on, the
boats
ships you were on, all your soldiers. How do you remember all their names?
You're amazing. Mr. Jeckovich is from Company H, the 2nd Battalion of the 291st Regiment of the 75th Infantry Division of the U.S. Army during World War II. Mr. Jeckovich believes in the motto that he's got two doctors, his left leg and his right leg. You jogged for 80 years.
Yeah.
When nobody else knew that was good for you.
You jogged for 80 years. And when you first started jogging down the streets of Niagara Falls, New York, in your corduroy pants and your boots, your sweatshirt or t-shirt, what did people say to you?
Get off the street, you bum.
Get off the street, you bum. Because 80 years ago or so, when you were jogging down the streets,
80 plus years.
when you're jogging down the streets of Niagara Falls, New York, jogging wasn't known, jogging was not fashionable, jogging was not acceptable. Most residents that would yell at you to get off the street, you bum, were ignorant of the fact that they were ignorant.
Yeah.
Didn't some throw things at you? Let me just sit down for a minute. Didn't they throw some things at you?
Oh, yeah.
What did they throw at you?
Stones and everything else.
Yeah, some people threw empty cans of Genesee beer at you. Other guy popped you in the head with a full can of Campbell soup.
Yeah.
Now, that was 80 years ago. I'm sure all those people with that egregious activity are all pushing up daisies. And now look, we're looking at a man 100 years old. It's unbelievable. Never took a prescription, never took a vitamin, jogged for 80 years. Did you drink?
Yeah.
Did you drink?
No.
Did you smoke?
No.
And that's difficult because when Mr. Jeckovich was a teenage soldier in World War II, the Red Cross passed out cartons of cigarettes like candy bars.
Yeah.
Everybody, every day, you got more cigarettes and cigarettes and cigarettes. And what did you do with your cigarettes?
I gave them to my buddies.
You gave them to your buddies. You gave them to your buddies. And then the tobacco companies had such a hold on the government through this advertisement through these young boys and girls that when you got released from the Army, once the war was over, you're on a point system. And what did the camps look like?
Camp Lucky Strike, Philip Morris, Paul Mall. They're all lined up to cigarettes.
So there would be tents before you got released home
Points.
on a point system. The name of the tents would say Camp Lucky Strike, Camp Tarryton, Camp Winston, Pall Mall, and these are all heavy-duty, non-filtered cigarettes. So the reason why I want to speak on these cigarettes for another minute is that after World War II, if the boys on the front line that were bored and they thought their time was up anyways, they smoked, what the hell they felt. But if they did survive the war, 20, 30 years later, many of them died of lung cancer.
Yeah.
So if the bullets didn't get you, the cigarettes would. And we're just going to touch on a side note. You know, tobacco companies are very clever and devious group people that run these companies. And how are they advertising now?
Yeah, they're putting it enticing for the young kids.
Yeah.
Putting it on a counter so they can steal it.
Yeah. Yeah, what they would do is like 20, 30,000 7-Elevens 20 years ago, the tobacco companies would set up displays of, you know, Marlboros, Winstons, and Newports, and they put them right on the front, in front of the cash register. So it made it very easy for a kid, 12 or 13, to steal a pack of cigarettes. And they believe firmly a pack stolen today is a carton sold tomorrow.
Right, that's right. That's
Pack
right.
sold today is a carton sold tomorrow.
What did you do with all your cigarettes, John?
Huh?
What'd you do with your K-ration cigarettes?
I gave them to my buddies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another interesting fact, as we talked about these tobacco companies, they're very clever and cunning in very selfish ways. And if you would have followed, if you made it out of the war, which you did, thank God, basically do your mother's prayers. She prayed the rosary on her knees at her bedside every night for your safe return. I mean, you came home damaged, but you came home. Mr. Jeckovich was shot in the shoulder by a sniper. He was beat up, of course, stabbed.
Lost a hip.
Trench foot, frostbite, and still has shrapnel from a dirty bomb in his body. What happens when you have to get on an airplane? What does the TSA tell you about all the alarms going off of the metal detectors? What do you got to do?
Seek shelter.
No, when you have to go yourself on a pleasure trip on an airplane and the alarms are going off, is there some type of letter you give the guys at the airport?
Well, when I was in the Army?
Yeah. So if you want on an airplane right now, the alarms would go off.
Yeah.
So what do you do to tell them about the alarms going off because of all the metal in your body?
I think I give them a slip.
You give them a slip.
Yeah.
World War II veteran shrapnel in the body.
I got to explain why I've got it.
Yeah. These wars bring so much misery and pain to everybody, not just the soldiers, but to families and families of families. That same bomb, same dirty bomb that Mr. Jeckovich has shrapnel in his body, his best friend during the service was called Donald Leap. He got a direct hit by that bomb, blew off his head, and the only thing left was his glasses were hanging by his ear. That was it, instant death. Mr. Jeckovich took one dog tag off of Donald Leap, and he removed the glasses and sent a beautiful, heartfelt letter to his mother and father about his death. They lived in New York. What part? Where did Donald Leap's parents live in New York? Donald Leap's parents, they lived in New York.
Boulevard.
Okay. And Mr. Jeckovich sent them a beautiful letter. Just recently, we recovered, I don't know how we did, but we recovered one of the letters that Mabel Lape sent Mr. Jeckovich on the front line, thanking Mr. Jeckovich about what he knew about Donald Lape and how they were
She
thinking.
called me Johnny.
Yeah, and the Mabel Lape, Donald Lape's mother, she referred to him as Johnny. Johnny this, Johnny that, Johnny. Johnny, I'm sending you a beautiful package. I hope it doesn't take 2 weeks to get to you. So here's maybe one of the reasons why we call this the greatest generation of all times. She just lost her son. Her other son is in the Navy during World War II. And one of her best friends, another teenage boy, was just killed a couple days before Donald Lape. And that family took it very badly. That father had a heart attack and died once he knew that his son was killed. And so instead of people being bitter, cold-hearted, and looking for revenge, just the opposite. Johnny, we're putting together a beautiful package for you. We're going to get this package out, and I hope you survive the war. What was in this package?
Oh, everything. There was some clothes in there, a wristwatch.
How about candies and
It was
cake?
just chocolate candies and that, yeah.
Did you share with the other soldiers?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so maybe this is a little example why we call them the greatest generation of all time. She's in all this pain, but now she's looking out for Johnny. Johnny this and Johnny that, Johnny this and Johnny that. What a beautiful lady. Another side note of this story, Donald Lape's brother, who was too young to be in World War, we found out after his death that he only lived 1 block away in Florida from Mr. Jeckovich. When Mr. Jeckovich lived in Florida, Donald Lape's brother only lived 1 block away for 25 years. That would have been a beautiful get-together of John Jeckovich and Donald Lape's brother. It's a shame we didn't know until it was actually too late. But speaking again about Mabel Lape, Johnny this and Johnny that, here's a package. And they're just a beautiful generation. But one thing I found after reading for these 3 years of different stories of World War II, reading about Mr. Jeckovich's adventures, reading about the other young boys' adventures, they had one thing that we don't really recognize today. They had one thing, not only they're patriotic, but they had empathy. They all had great empathy. And empathy is the glue to civilization. Empathy is the glue to humanity. So that generation there had a special dose of empathy. I don't see much of that today in young people. I see it in some. Like, for example, Mr. Jeckovich's great-granddaughter, Amber Jeckovich. She's only in her 20s, and she travels the world. Oh, she hasn't missed a continent. She travels the world with a Bible in one hand and a surfboard in the other. How's that Bible of Amber's look?
It's all worn off.
Yeah, and that's good. She preaches the Bible around the world, whoever will listen, and she surfs around the world. She's a full-time missionary with great empathy. She comes here often, sometimes when she's in Florida, 4 or 5 days a week. Do you enjoy Amber's company?
Oh, yeah.
You two are like 2 peas in a pod. That person has great empathy. Come to many youngsters today, no empathy. They have great big egos. They're not Christ-centric. They're egocentric, which is not good. But I still believe there's more good people in this world than bad. I still believe there's more good people than bad. Wow. So you blinked your eyes at 20 and now you're 100.
Yeah.
Where the hell did it go?
15 minutes.
Where the hell did it go? We have so many text messages. You want me to read some of your
Oh, yeah, go ahead,
It's
yeah.
a text.
Yeah.
You want me to get the text messages?
Yeah.
Read that one part about the boat. They were
Okay,
talking
one
about
second.
the boat
One
yesterday.
second, please. Okay, I see what we pulled up here. We're finding new stuff every day, it's beautiful. Where Mr. Jeckovich's book, let's just talk about that briefly, and we'll go to the text messages.
Did he do his dog tag number? I missed it. Did he do his dog tag number?
Oh yeah, before I open up the book, I'll need the dog tag number.
420965.
Okay, that's the code to open up the book and laptop. The book is titled Their Mother's Son, and let's just tell you briefly about it for those people who are listening for the first time. Their Mother's Sons is a long book written by Mr. Jeckovich.
Yeah.
Tell me it again. How many pages?
849.
845, 849. Mr. Jeckovich was taking care of his mother since his age 11 to his mother's demise at 89 years old. He was a sole caretaker for her. His father was a legal immigrant who came through Ellis Island from Russia. And it seemed like many families were settling in Buffalo and Niagara Falls, New York. It was beautiful then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And his father was working 3 different jobs, almost as a slave, to give Mr. Jeckovich and Mr. Jeckovich's family a better life. At the age of barely 40, he died of a massive heart attack. And so now Mr. Jeckovich had stepped in at 11 or 12 to be the sole caretaker of the family, namely his mother. So when your father died, you got a knock on the door from the police. What happened next?
And said that your father got hurt, had to take him to the hospital.
Okay, let me stop there. So the police came to your house at 3063 Orleans Avenue, Niagara Falls, New York, and they said your father got hurt, we're going to take you to the hospital. And did you sit in the back seat or the front seat?
Back seat.
Okay, so then what happened? They dropped you at the front door?
Dropped me at the front door and I went in.
Okay, so this little boy, 11 or 12, gets dropped at the front door. He walks to the receptionist. Now, they just told you your father was injured.
Yeah.
So you were expecting at that time to go second or third floor.
Yeah.
You thought your dad might have fell, had a busted up ankle or wrist or something of that nature.
Yeah.
So what happened next?
So I said, where's my father at? She said, well, we'll take you downstairs.
Then what happened?
So I took me downstairs and there was a morgue.
I see. And then what did you see in the morgue as 11 and 12-year-old boy?
I see my father laying out on a slab, has cement on his, a little bit of cement on his face, a little bit of cement on his pants.
Because your father was working his third job that day, mixing cement by hand.
Yeah.
Do you mix cement by hand with a stick? How do you do it?
It was a shovel.
With very hard.
Yeah.
Very strenuous.
Thick, very thick, yeah.
Okay, so you got to the morgue when you thought you were going to see your dad with a busted ankle or wrist, and that wasn't the case. They took this young boy downstairs to the morgue. I don't think they'd do that today. And so what did they tell you to do? Identify the body?
I said, that's my father, yeah.
And then what did they tell you to do next?
They said, will you go through his pockets, please?
And what did you find in your father's...
Well, a can of Prince Albert tobacco and the papers that they rolled it in, keys for the house, and a couple of quarters and nickels and dimes.
And that was the extent of your father's wealth, right there.
Yeah.
Your father smoked papers. I guess it was pretty common back then to roll your own cigarettes. Did you roll cigarettes for your father?
No, he did it.
He did himself?
Yeah, I never did it.
Was your father allowed to smoke in the house?
No, I couldn't smoke in the house.
He had to be outside?
Yeah.
So this is where the book begins. Their mother's sons. So now Mr. Jeckovich, 11 or 12, has to be the caretaker of his mother. That's where it all begins, to her demise at 89. But he made many sacrifices in between. For his example, his other brothers, his 2 other brothers, they enlisted in the service. And by enlisting in the service at that time, you were able to get a better position in the service. For example, his one brother never went to war. His one brother stayed in the United States, teaching young cadets how to drive Jeeps, right?
Yeah.
Did he have any special talent?
No, he had a fire hydrant at one time.
So he hit a fire hydrant, and all of a sudden, he's a great instructor of driving Jeeps. So here's where another sacrifice comes in. Many sacrifices were made, one after another, after another. Mr. Jeckovich did not enlist. Why did you not enlist?
Oh, take care of my mother.
So by not enlisting, Mr. Jeckovich had many more months at home to take care of his mother.
Well, they finally drafted me, though.
Yeah, they did. Many months went by. But here's the trade-off. When he got drafted, he's not going to be in Rochester, New York, teaching young cadets to drive Jeeps. They're going to ship his ass to our front lines, combat infantry, right?
Yeah.
That was a trade-off. When you get drafted, you're most probably going to front line combat infantry.
Yeah, he would have been at D-Day if he would have joined,
Yeah.
which would have been bad.
And so they needed young boys, young teenagers, right?
33.
Yeah.
33s is a code.
33s.
33s a code in the Army for young boys. So as a result, Mr. Jeckovich sat in the hospital in Paris for 3 months. He was shot in the shoulder by a sniper, beat up, stabbed, bombed, trench foot, frostbite. And that was a trade-off that he made.
Lost a hip.
Yeah. An interesting story was, it's kind of funny now, but probably wasn't funny then. Mr. Jeckovich came home on furlough to surprise his mother and his young sister, a long trip,
Before he was going to ship out.
day and a half. This is before he's going to be shipped overseas.
8 minutes.
And when he got home, no one was home, right?
No one's home, no.
Where were they?
Well, it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They were working, or Sally was at school.
And then what did you do? You didn't eat in 2 days, so you went in the refrigerator.
They had some meatloaf in there and a glass of orange juice.
And what did you do?
So I ate it.
And what did your mother say?
She said, you just ate our supper.
And was she mad about the orange juice? Tell us.
Yeah.
And so, what did she do? Give you the silent treatment?
Yeah.
And you heard her banging some pans and stuff?
Yeah, banging the pans in the kitchen.
Wow. Well, she made you tough, I could say that. If you weren't tough, you wouldn't be here today. And we have had wars for thousands of years. We're going to have wars for thousands of more years. So, mothers, please don't make your kids wimps. Don't sissify your kids. Be tough with them. You might think you're doing good by buying the kids a car at 16. Don't do it. Don't do it. If they don't earn it, they don't get it. Be tough with them. If you sissify them, if they have to go to war, chances are they'll never make it out. If you turn them into wimps, and when you're pushing up daisies, which you'll be soon, you'll be pushing up daisies soon as, Father Time waits for nobody, it goes quickly. Your kids won't be able to take care of themselves. If the only thing you're doing is giving them money and cards and let them just sit on the couch and drink chocolate milk and cookies, you're ruining their lives. So you'll eventually be pushing up daisies, and your kids will probably be with a buck in the street begging for money. So don't make your young men, don't make your young boys weak. Make them tough.
6 minutes.
Like your mother made them tough. Your mother made you tough, right? So we're on the book second time around. Oh, is the book for sale?
No, it's not for sale.
No. The book is not for sale. It's nothing about money. Mr. Jeckovich has plenty of money. He does not need your money. The book was written for one purpose and one purpose only: to give youngsters an idea to have a more wholesome and prosperous life, a simpler life. That's what it's about. There's hundreds of examples. The only book that he has that's in public is at the World War II Museum in New Orleans, Louisiana. But listen, you can read the book for free. We already did it once already. Just Google his Bulge Busters. You can start from the beginning and listen to everything. There's many, many beautiful stories in it to make your life a little simpler. For example, let's just say randomly a question about marriage. How long have you been married?
69 years.
Yeah. So who do you want to ask about marriage? Right here. You've been married for 69 years. His mind is like a library. So any questions you have for Mr. Jeckovich, please text them at 407-366-0000. Any question from A to Z, it doesn't matter. He'll talk to you, he'll answer your question messages, text messages. Don't forget, there were 16,400,000 young boys and girls in World War II. And now we're down to 16,400,000, that's a big ass number. Now we're down to 5,000 or fewer frontline combat vets. And we're losing them at a rate of 150 a day. So do the math. You're looking at the real deal in front of you. So text Mr. Jeckovich any questions, any comments. Well, if you just want to talk to him, text and call 407-366-0000. How many minutes do we have here?
Four.
4 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're in chapter 7 of the book, and that's when Mr. Jeckovich is getting ready to go overseas. Remember that troop ship?
Yeah,
Yeah, that troop ship. How was that troop ship?
3 high.
3 high. Your
Three
nose
high.
is touching the ceiling.
Yeah.
You're below the water level.
Yeah.
How was the food?
It's greasy, it was a lively ship.
Okay, let me just read some notes you have back here for the troop ship. It was on the evening of the 21st of October, troops began the long, involved process of being embarked. As each man stepped to the gangplank, he was given a printed card bearing his exact deck and bunk number, as was guided through the long passageways and down the numberless stairs to the respective bunk and compartment. Embarking was completed late at night, and on Sunday, October 22nd, 1944, the United States Army transport Edmund B. Alexander steamed out of the New York Harbor. What type of ship was that in the beginning?
That was a luxury ship compared to the troop ship.
It steamed out of the New York Harbor carrying the 291st Infantry, which is you, right?
Yeah,
To the destination had to be pointed to which it had pointed for 17 months, the European Theater of Operations. In one way, you're relieved. You were thinking they might send you to the Pacific.
yeah, so we were going west instead of east.
So you didn't want to go to the Pacific.
No,
At that
no,
point, you didn't know, right?
no,
Up to that point, you didn't know.
no.
Minutes?
2.
So this is thank God moment. You're going to
Yeah.
Europe instead of the
Yeah,
Pacific, yeah. Okay, let me pick up. The time aboard the ship was spent with boat drills, inspections, movies, and band concerts in the ship's recreation hall, boxing bouts on the aft deck, library, religious services, and French and German classes. Time not taken up by the many activities schedules was spent in watching the many intricate maneuvers of the escort ships, aircraft carriers, and other ships and convoys. So you had escort ships.
Oh, yeah, they're all over, yeah.
So no one
They
came
were
and bombed the
spread, they
hell.
were spread over hundreds of miles, so.
So no one came and bombed the hell out of you, right?
How many people were on your boat, John?
How many?
Yeah, how many people were on your boat? Do you remember?
3,000,
Oh, wow.
The days lengthened into a week.
plus the crew.
Plus the crew.
Huh?
Plus the crew.
Minutes.
1.
The days lengthened into a week, and a land was sighted 12 days after leaving New York. On the second day of November 1944, it must have been cold as hell, the 291st Infantry docked at Swansea, Wales, and the troops stretched out sea-weary legs and debarked to touch land for a brief moments and then entrained for the final destinations. Battalions and companies were segregated according to previous plan and sent to one of the 8 camps which have been set up in the area near Haverford West.
Hereford West.
You
yeah.
spent a lot of time in Haverford West.
Wow, I can't wait to hear more of that later.
Pembroke, Tenby, and Wales. Units were billeted as follows. Angle Camp, 3rd Battalion, all companies. Haverford West was your company.
Yeah,
20 seconds.
So you were in Haverford West Camp for a long time.
yeah.
Well, we're gonna pick this up again tomorrow. We're getting down to 10 seconds.
But when we went to training again, exercises, and that 45-mile hikes and everything.
Wow,
Wow.
We were there about 6 months.
wow.
Wow.